Hundreds of years ago, humanity had drained the planet's resources, leading to a catastrophic collapse of the population. The world's top scientists took it upon themselves to rescue the dying Earth. They discovered a renewable energy source, yet the biggest threat remained: humanity itself. Conflicts created a rift between the best and the worst. It was then decided to enhance humans as a species. On their 16th birthday, every individual undergoes a procedure to make them physically flawless. No one needs to envy others or prove their worth anymore. Tally is one of those eagerly waiting for that day. For now, she is labeled as ugly, but she has a glimpse of what her future self will look like, even getting to choose her eye color and skin texture. One evening, she sneaks out to a bridge where her friend, Paris, is waiting for her. Together, they watch a party in the city of the beautiful, envious of those who've already transformed. Paris, who is 3 months older, will undergo the operation tomorrow and move to the city. Tally, however, must wait her turn, worried that Paris will forget about her. But Paris reassures her that she will always be his squints, and he will forever be her nose. They agree to meet again in a month. The following day, the students gather in the main hall to greet those whose time for transformation has arrived. Dr. Cable speaks about all the benefits of becoming beautiful and calls the future beauties forward. Paris bids farewell to Tally, and a girl named Shay, sitting nearby, notices. That evening, Tally returns to her room, recalling how she and Paris first met when they arrived at the school. He called himself Nose, and she went by Squints. One day, Nose injured his hand, and Squints deliberately cut her palm. From that moment on, they shared a scar, a mark of their so-called ugliness, and believed they were destined for each other. The next morning, during class, Tally talks about the white tiger orchids, which power the cities and adorn the fields. Later that evening, she undergoes the mandatory scan in preparation for her transformation, choosing gold for her eye color while dreaming of reuniting with Paris, from whom she hasn't heard. On the day of their arranged meeting, Tally sneaks onto the bridge, but Paris, or Nose, doesn't show. Determined, she sneaks into the city of New Pretty Town. Upon reaching the outskirts, she finds a lively party in progress. A mask suddenly drops from above, enabling her to change her outfit. She selects a dress and heads out to search for Paris amidst the lights, laughter, and music. Miraculously, she finds him, but he barely recognizes her. The scar on his hand, which he swore he would never remove, is gone. Tally learns that once someone becomes beautiful, their life changes entirely, and old promises no longer hold the same weight. When she removes her mask to remind him of who she is, Paris grows distant, and she becomes unwelcome. Tally runs, grabbing a rescue vest, and leaps from a skyscraper to escape being caught. The vest saves her, and she manages to make her way back to the bridge. Just as she's about to be captured, Shay appears on a hoverboard and rescues her. The two girls immediately bond, and Tally teaches Shay how to sneak into the locked kitchen. She shares how disappointed she felt after meeting Paris. One day, Shay offers to teach Tally to ride the hoverboard and gives her a forbidden book to read. Tally learns that Shay shared her daring jump with the rescue vest, making Tally a heroine on campus, though this recognition could cost her the operation. Despite the risks, she continues her lessons and masters the hoverboard. Later, during a conversation about beauty, Shay reveals that she has no desire to undergo the transformation. For now, Shay takes Tally to a training area, where she shows off her skills on the most difficult course. Afterward, Tally returns the book, appreciating its themes of free-flowing life, natural seasons, and relationships. Shay then proposes that they both refuse the operation and escape to a place called the Smoke, where people live freely. She takes Tally to the edge of the school grounds, and after leaving their tracking rings behind, the two fly into the wildlands. Crossing a river, they reach the ruins of an old city, where Shay shows her an abandoned roller coaster. Lamenting its destruction, they climb a tall building where they can signal her friends from the wild by lighting a fire. Shay explains that in the outside world, people live for themselves, fall in love, and even grow old. It's a life like in the book they read together. Shay had planned to escape with a friend named David until she met Tally on the bridge and decided to save her. She longs to read, have hobbies, and live freely, believing that after the operation, people lose the ability to control their own lives. Tally is unable to understand this, having always dreamed of being beautiful. Shay leaves her with a coded map to the smoke and departs with David, whose fire glows from the neighboring rooftop. Tally returns to the city, where the day of her transformation approaches. But instead of being taken to the operating room, she is brought to Dr. Cable, who knows all about her friendship with Shay, now missing. Dr. Cable insists that David is holding Shay against her will, brainwashing her, and demands that Tally find and bring her back. Only then will Tally be allowed to undergo the operation. Distressed, Tally returns to her room, where Paris comes to visit her. He advises her to follow Dr. Cable's orders, as it's the only way they can be together. Tally reluctantly agrees. Dr. Cable explains that the people in the smoke are plotting to destroy the city and have developed a weapon that Tally must locate and disable. Before she sets off, Tally is given a pendant to activate once she finds the weapon. Following Shay's directions, Tally reaches the ruined roller coaster and rides it until she finds an old railroad track. She camps in the forest for the night, lighting a fire, and unexpectedly finds peace in the surrounding wilderness. The next day, she has to climb a steep cliff and cross through the ruins using her hoverboard. Her final stop is a vast sea of white orchids, where she decides to rest for the night. Meanwhile, Dr. Cable contacts Paris and offers to give him additional enhancements. That night, Tally awakens surrounded by flames. The orchids are burning. As she's on the verge of losing consciousness, David rescues her. He checks her for transmitters and discards one he finds, ignoring the pendant since it hasn't been activated. He brings her to safety, but unbeknownst to them, the tracker alerts Dr. Cable that Tally is in the right location. The next morning, David brings Tally to the smoke, where she is reunited with Shay. However, the residents are suspicious of how she made it there on her own. Tally expresses her concern for Shay and suggests she should return to the city, but Shay refuses, encouraging Tally to take a closer look at life in the smoke. The following day, Tally encounters a group of young people preparing for an expedition. It turns out they intentionally set fires because the orchids are invasive and deplete the soil, damaging the environment. David invites Tally to join them and see things for herself. They embark on a mission using an old, modified helicopter. From above, Tally sees the devastation caused by the orchids, fields and forests destroyed. Shay sets the plants on fire, and as the blaze spreads, figures of people are seen walking through the flames unscathed. Suddenly, the helicopter shakes and Shay falls. Without hesitation, Tally leaps after her and manages to grab her just in time. As they hang in the air, Tally notices a figure in a blue suit running toward them. She grabs hold of a rope thrown from the helicopter, and the two girls are pulled to safety. Later, they reflect on what happened, confused about how the city's scouts were able to find them. Tally begins to feel conflicted. The more she gets to know the people in the smoke, the more she starts to question her beliefs. Here, everyone works together without using money, and the elderly aren't seen as a burden. They contribute in their own ways. The most important thing is that people here choose their way of life. They repurpose old metal and create useful tools. When Tally asks about the supposed weapons, Shay shrugs it off, saying, "Why would we need them?" Tally joins in the work, and despite the challenges, she finds the process rewarding. In the evening, everyone gathers around the campfires, where Tally experiences natural food for the first time. David explains to the group that the city's scouts have been spotted, signaling that the pursuit hasn't stopped. While the smoke values living in harmony with nature, the city focuses on controlling people by emphasizing appearance. People stop reading, dreaming, and choosing who they want to be, and that's why the smoke is prepared to defend its freedom. The next day, David teaches Tally how to shoot a bow and notices the calluses on her hands. He gives her his gloves as a gift, which Shay later notices. Shay explains that in this world, gifts like that mean something. If a guy cares for a girl, it's a sign she's important to him. This leaves Tally with a difficult choice to make. One day, Tally asks David about the so-called weapons. He takes her to see his parents, who reveal they were once plastic surgeons. They explain that the procedures aren't as safe as the city claims. Some people even died during the surgeries. While studying these cases, David's father discovered changes in the brain post-operation. The procedures not only altered people's appearance, but also clouded their thinking, giving them a false sense of happiness. However, only Dr. Cable realized the truth, and once the secret was uncovered, David's parents were removed from their positions, and their research was confiscated. It became evident that the brain was being deliberately damaged to control people. David's parents were fortunate to find refuge in a community of denters, where they were given a special medicine that helped them maintain their sanity. That's why they fled and devoted their lives to developing a cure. However, one key ingredient was still in the city. The serum is the weapon, but it remains incomplete. Once they acquire the missing component, they will need to test it on someone, but only with that person's consent. That night, Tally reflects on everything she has learned. She removes the pendant and tosses it into the fire, unaware that doing so activates it. She confides in David about her actions, but he reassures her that she made the right decision. He tells her she is beautiful and kisses her. The next morning, the city launches an attack on the smoke. Men in blue suits trap the residents in nets and gather them in the square. Tally holds David back as they watch the scene from a distance. Dr. Cable interrogates David's parents, and when they refuse to give her the answers she wants, she orders Paris to kill David's father. Without hesitation, Paris reaches out and snaps the man's neck. David rushes forward, and together with his mother, they mourn over his father's body. Paris sees Tally but doesn't harm her, while Dr. Cable thanks her for her cooperation, revealing Tally's role in the mission. Shay expresses her disgust toward Tally. In the chaos, David's mother secretly slips a vial of the medicine into his pocket. Tally breaks free, runs to David's house, and sets it on fire. Amid the confusion, David escapes into the forest. Tally, using her bow, shoots one of her pursuers and runs as well. Meanwhile, the invaders burn down the smoke and capture its residents. Later, Tally finds David and confesses that she didn't know the full truth, and now the smoke has paid the price. She vows to help him get to the city and make things right. She takes him to the school, introduces him to Shay's friends, and asks for their help. The group starts a rebellion, graffitiing "Smoke Forever" across the city to divert attention from their true mission. Taking advantage of the distraction, Tally and David sneak into the laboratory. However, to access the necessary level, the school ring isn't enough. David steals one from a guard, and they locate and free the smoke's residents. But Shay has already undergone the operation. Tally, David, and his mother race to find her, but it's too late. Shay has been transformed into a beauty, and she loves it. At that moment, Paris and Dr. Cable enter the lab, urging everyone to make a final decision. All three step into the transformation booths, but just as the process begins, a helicopter flies overhead, and David's friend uses a flamethrower to melt the outer glass. The system crumbles, and Tally pulls Shay to safety. Meanwhile, David's mother locates the vital component needed for the medicine. As they flee, the group reaches the rooftop, where they are confronted by Paris. Tally attempts to remind him of their bond, but Paris reaches for them. Remembering his father's death, David attacks Paris. After a fierce struggle, Paris ends up dangling over a waterway. In a brief moment, he recognizes Tally, but slips and falls. David pulls Tally away, and later, the group gathers in the ruins of the old city. David's mother reveals the recovered component and retrieves a vial from David's pocket. The medicine is finally ready, but Shay refuses to take it, as she loves her beauty. Tally steps up, offering to return to the city and undergo the procedure herself. It's a risky decision, but she trusts in her strength. Sometime later, Tally, now stunningly beautiful, gazes at the city. When the system asks, she confidently assures it that she is completely content being perfect. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.